you want to sew more, maybe you want to learn a new sewing skill, or perhaps you have a handmade wardrobe in mind for this coming year to complete. And whatever is your sewing goal, whatever is your sewing to do, whatever is your sewing resolution, for you and me, they all have one thing in common. And that's one thing that majority of the people usually complain about, or maybe not necessarily complain, but express their concern. And that is, I don't have time for it. And time, you and I, doesn't matter who we are, where we live, or what we do, we all have just 24 hours in the day. And sewing is a time-consuming hobby. It requires a lot of concentration, a lot of precision, and a lot of time. And in this video, we're going to be talking about sewing plus time management. And time management might seem like a little bit of a daunting thing to talk about when the conversation is about hobby, something that's supposed to bring you joy and fulfillment and excitement. But I urge you not to look at time management as something, as a chore or a task, but look at it as a tool to pace yourself, a tool to really be strategic about your hobby and really get the fulfillment that you deserve, that creativity that you deserve. And just to give you a little bit of a background story, I've been running this YouTube channel for almost 3 years now, and I've been working full time, and I also have a toddler. She just turned 2. That's a lot of things. I have a family, I have other engagements, I have other responsibilities, so I do have a lot on my plate. However, I do have time to sew, and this is how I make it work. So I want to share with you 2 ways how you can go about it. Really easy, real simple. This video is going to be pretty short, I think, so let's jump right into it. And have you noticed I'm filming in a new studio? I've just completed a sewing room makeover a couple of days ago, so if you haven't seen it, I will leave the links for the videos in the info box below for you guys. I had quite a few troubles with this wall, but I'm super happy with the way it came out. So if you're interested or maybe curious, definitely check it out. Now, to fully understand this principle, which is really simple, really straightforward, if you guys apply this, you will definitely find some time to sew. But to really understand it, I want you to do 2 things. Number 1, I want you to think about your week, right? Monday through Sunday. Think about all the things that you have to do in a week. And I know you guys are busy, so I'm pretty sure you have a really clear idea of what you need to do throughout the day, throughout the week, right? Pick up kids from school, wash dishes, clean up the house, do some homeschooling, complete work assignments. I know you're busy, believe me, I know that. And then I want you to think about your sewing goals, right? So whatever is your sewing resolution, whatever is your sewing goal, your creative goal for the year. And let's say that for example's sake, that you want to sew 1 garment per week. Now, I know it sounds pretty extreme, that would equal to 52 garments per year. That's a really huge wardrobe, but just for the example's sake, let's say 1 garment per week. Now, 1 garment per week takes about 6 to 8 hours to construct, right? So I know that some garments take about 2 to 3 hours. You guys know I like simple makes, straightforward lines, and I love a simple life. That's what I gravitate to. Now, some garments take up to 14 hours, maybe even 20 hours to construct. If you're making a tailored suit or I don't know, a wedding dress or things like that, right? So let's say on average 6 to 8 hours. Now, if I tell you that, okay, so for you to complete your sewing goal for the year, to really fulfill your creative life, you have to find 6 to 8 hours as 1 chunk of time throughout the week to really make that happen. That sounds a little daunting, doesn't it? Who has that time to begin with? Busy mom and busy individual, 6 to 8 hours in 1 uninterrupted chunk of time is just not happening. It just impossible, truly impossible. Between a toddler, husband, work, YouTube sewing, and everything else, I'm gonna tell you straight away, it's just not going to happen. Now, think about sewing. Sewing is a very task-based hobby, right? So you choose a pattern, you trace it out or you cut the pattern out, then you cut your fabric, then you baste it, then you try it on, you make the adjustments, you sew it, and then you do the finishing touches. Now, all of these steps can be completed on its own, right, on their own. So you don't actually have to do them all connected to each other in 1 chunk of time, which means that per 7 days a week, you can do 1 of these tasks. Easy as that. And that's how I get my sewing done. There are two ways to go about it. Number one, you can either allot a task that you want to complete per day. So let's say, on Tuesdays, I start my week on Tuesday. So on Tuesdays, I am choosing a pattern. On Wednesdays, I am cutting it out. On Thursdays, I am assembling it. So you can go by the task. So however long it takes, I am completing this task today. Or you can go by the hour assignment. So let's say you are saying that, okay, every day I will sew an hour a day. I will dedicate that time to my hobby, and however much I can get completed, that's how much I will get completed. So you can go it either way, whatever is more convenient for you or whatever you have the time for. I go by the tasks just because I know that once I get it started, I want to see it completed. So I usually do, assembly today, cutting out tomorrow, or whatever it is. Now, here's one thing that I don't see a lot of people talking about when the conversation is about time management. And I think because it's perceived that, well, you don't want to plan to fail. However, I do think that you have to have some sort of a backup plan. Do you remember that video when I was talking to you about the fear of cutting into fabric and why that fear is there? And one of the tricks that I overcame my fear of cutting into fabric when I just started sewing was to have a backup plan. And that might go against the grain with some people, because some people might say, well, you are planning to fail, so you're thinking in advance that, okay, if something doesn't happen right, then I will use this fabric for blah, 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 blah. Yes, but at the same time, does it give you comfort to know that, okay, if this doesn't go right, I still have a backup plan and I can still make it work? To me, that gives great comfort. So yes, life happens, unpredictable things happen all the time, things that are out of our control, and it's really important to take that in the account so that way you don't feel disappointed. And it's also really important to know yourself as well. So for me, just, as a perspective or as an example for you guys, I know that I have a tendency of, if I get something started, I really want to see it happen. I really want to see it through. And sometimes it might result in a really late night, like I might go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the next day, all I want to do is just, I want to sit down with a cup of tea in a silence, and I want nothing else from life. So what I do is I do have a couple of days in the week where my sewing task for the day is just to gather some inspiration and look up some creative ideas for what I want to sew next. Easy as that, right? I am not really completing an actual task of sewing or cutting or assembly, but it's still sewing related. I am still following through with my habit of sewing a little bit every single day, but it's not something that requires a huge mental load or a huge ability of analyze, think, and problem solve, right? I'm just getting inspired, sitting there with a cup of tea, and just, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes if you have the luxury, and just really getting that time for yourself and for your hobby. So do whatever is best for you. I think that pacing method really works, at least for me. You guys know I've been really consistent on YouTube with my sewing and with my other tasks. So take it or leave it, but that's the best way I found how to manage your sewing time. And this method of pacing yourself, a little task every single day, also builds up on that habit of doing your hobby every single day, little bit by little bit. And that habit will go a long way, believe me. Habit is a very strong thing. And if you build on top of that, you will be in for success for whatever is your creative goal. And you know what? I do have this other really good video about how to sew more, and it talks more a little bit about how to be really functional with your sewing time and how to avoid distractions. It's a little bit of a different kind of video, but it's also really useful. I will leave the link for it somewhere over here, so definitely click on that, take a look at that. It's a little bit of an older video, but the information is very, very good. So I will see you over there. Thank you so much for watching, and happy sewing, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!